George Clooney is the main actor in this film. George Clooney having the perfect gematria to fill the role. 74, reminding us of our nation's birthday, July 4th. Again, only the 33rd state having this gematria of 74. The main characters in the film, a lot of interesting gematria, but what stands out the most is the name of the leader of Tomorrowland, Nukes. Nukes has a gematria of 47, just like the word tomorrow. Nukes, the leader of Tomorrowland. So, before I saw this movie, I saw a lot of people commenting on the fact that 9/23 was coded in this movie into the buildup of September 23rd approaching earlier this year. If you're new to this work, if you're not used to the numbers, I have been decoding mainstream headlines, mainstream stories, and more all year, and there was a lot of focus on September 23rd. People were predicting it would be the end of the world. I never thought anything like that. I thought there might be a major false flag on that date, or I thought it would become a measuring point for future events. Notice the number 63 is before 9/23. Again, September 23rd was the start of the French Republican calendar this year. Republican has gematria of 47, just like the word France. It is the French Revolution calendar. September 23rd was the start date. From September 23rd to November 13th was a span of 51 days. The word conspiracy equals 51. And that might be the first mainstream hoax conspiracy that we've seen on a major scale since this date, but I am quite certain more to come, and I think we're living at a very curious time where a lot of big events are planned to shake up the world to further the one world order agenda. Anybody who's out there telling you the new world order is coming, that person is deceiving you. You already live in the new world order. You've always lived your whole life under this order. It's just an order that grows its stranglehold each day. The longer we remain silent, the longer we don't speak out, the longer we don't point out what's going on, the more enslaved we become. And here in the United States, we're seeing our liberties slip away with each passing day. More and more legal changes, more and more surveillance, more and more spending on military and less on education. These are the signs of a declining nation. This movie is about a countdown until the end of humanity. With regards to 63, again, Paris equals 63. It was 63 days from September 11th until November 13th. What else is interesting about this timer is think about this. In military time, 9 a.m. is written as 0900. In military time, 11 p.m. is written as 2300. So 9/23, maybe in a very covert way, is also another way of representing 9/11. And let us not forget that September 24th is September 11th on the Julian calendar, the day after. Tomorrow. We're currently in the 224th year of the French Republican calendar. The movie that was made about jihad in France, which I uncovered already, prior video post, that title summed out to 224, had a lot of this interesting coding within. Notice that terrorist strike equals 224. French Republican calendar has the gematria of 114. This is interesting because in the United States we're living in the time of the 114th Congress. Also, the phrase World War equals 114. So does Holocaust. So does Pearl Harbor. I have been saying since the end of 2013 that all of this ISIS propaganda, all of this war drum beating in Western mainstream media, it's taking us to the pre-planned World War III. We are living out a planned epic. Part of that epic will be World War III. And unless humanity wakes up, a lot of youth are going to die and suffer for it, and so will their families. Essentially everyone on this planet. Also, Truth Seeker, with regards to all the nuclear coding in this film, think about the date September 23rd, how it can be written 923 or 23/9. One of the main ingredients in nuclear weapons is plutonium-239. Again, this movie has a lot to do with nuclear weapons, nuclear explosions. When the camera counts down, it counts down to here and then cuts away. I noticed the numerology of this time up on the screen is a 33. Paris, France also equals 56. You know, there's a lot of things they could be communicating with these numbers. I'm just showing you what it might be all about, you know. 56, of course, one of those numbers with 11 numerology. They love their multiples of 11, 11, 22, 33. So anyhow, the film, when it starts, it tells the story of George Clooney's main character as a young boy, how he attends the 1964 World's Fair. That's where he meets Nukes. He shows him his rocket pack. He's turned down, but he's confronted by this girl, Athena. Also, Truth Seekers, I routinely point out 64, a very important number to the gang. One you find a lot in this decoding. So it's no wonder they went back to 1964. It's also in New York. Remember how we talked about how Tomorrowland has a gematria matching New York City in the beginning. New York, one of the first cities mentioned. The cities mentioned in the film are Florida, New York, Texas, and Paris. Think about the Charlie Hebdo shootings and the shootings in Texas. And then this latest event. So here's Nukes. He meets Nukes early in the movie. He's a young boy. This is the girl Athena behind him. These become three of the main characters here. Frank Walker, whose back is to you, Nukes, and Athena. This Athena girl gets Frank this pin, a flying T. She tells him to take the ride, It's a Small World After All. So he gets on the ride, It's a Small World After All. Keep in mind his name is Frank Francis Walker. It's a Small World After All has gematria of 82. So does Frank Francis Walker. 82, a very interesting number. In terms of this movie having to do with the end of the world, it should be noted that the phrase Armageddon has a gematria of 82. So anyhow, once he gets on the ride, It's a Small World After All, when he gets to the Eiffel Tower on the ride, it shines the light on him, then zeroes in a laser beam, which reads his pin that he put on, that this girl gave to him and said to keep your hands on and wear in the ride. Just a little observation here, Truth Seeker. Frank Walker in simple English gematria equals 120. T in English gematria, which is where you multiply times 6, T's the 20th letter times 6 is 120. Just a little numerology, gematria sync, possibly a coincidence, possibly not. But anyway, the Eiffel Tower, it reads his pin, and then a secret area opens up. He goes down beneath, and he comes to this dimension traveling machine. I wrote time travel machine. It should really be dimension traveling because he travels to a different dimension, supposedly, and ends up in Tomorrowland, where it's highly robotic. Right away when he comes there, his rocket pack's with him. It gets smashed. A robot picks it up, fixes it, and for the first time in his life, it works perfectly. And what's creepy, Truth Seeker, is I should have took a picture of how it shows the sky. The sky here in Tomorrowland is just nothing but chemtrails. You know, for those of us who are awake, one of the most frustrating things about being alive is watching our skies sprayed with chemicals so often, and the people around us tell them, oh, those are just normal contrails. It's like they're making big X's in the sky, something they didn't do until 3-4 years ago. Something that's become more and more commonplace with each passing day. And, you know, the same people who refuse to acknowledge truth in this world are the same ones telling everybody that the spray in the sky is perfectly normal. Anyway, the sky in Tomorrowland is absolutely contaminated. You get this shot that can't help but remind you of the Wizard of Oz. This girl, Athena, looks a lot like Dorothy from the Wizard of Oz. On a little side note, Truth Seeker, I have a video on the Wizard of Oz. I make the point in that movie. The reason we are ruled over is because we're just like the characters in The Wizard of Oz. We don't have enough courage, we're not brave enough, we're not using our minds well enough, and we're letting tyrants rule over us with, simple tricks, such as the man behind the curtain with the big megaphone in The Wizard of Oz. In this world, that's more like the TV screen. If we all got away from our TVs, gathered in the streets, and made plans to take the world back, we could probably do it long before Jesus got here, as most people are waiting for and saying that's the only thing that can save us. So a little tribute to Wizard of Oz in the film. More countdown with the clock is showing. They just freeze it here on 48. What this reminded me of is how November 13th, the day of the Paris attacks, is the day that leaves 48 days remaining in the year. It's also on the 48th parallel Paris. The word hoax has a gematria of 48, so does the word propaganda. It then counts down and it closes out with 44 seconds, 44 being a kill number. In Jewish gematria, kill equals 59. The date of the attacks, November 13th, 2015, 11 plus 13 plus 2015, plus 15 equals 59. You know what's interesting, Truth Seeker? The word Jason, the main character from Friday the 13th, Jason has gematria of 59. The kill number. The name Voorhees, his last name, in Pythagorean gematria, even sums to 44. Voorhees, 44. Jason, 59. Friday the 13th, the movie about killing. The Paris terror attack hoax happening on Friday the 13th, having a lot of the same numbers coded into it. So anyhow, in the film, after they get done talking about, Frank Walker's introduction, then they go to the younger girl, the other main character, and when they first show her on screen, they put her up on the date of 2003 and either March 9th or September 3rd. But if you're new here, what I talk about is how often the Masons and the Zionists love to code the numbers 39 and 93. It is no surprise that the movie starts here with these numbers on the screen. Numbers of significance, it's not random, they're put before our eyes for a reason. 39, a very important number in the beginning of this nation's history, which began with 39 signers on the Declaration of Independence. In the beginning of the film, it shows the girl's a teenager. She goes to Cape Canaveral, hacks it. She ends up getting arrested later. When she gets arrested, Athena slips one of these flying T-pins into her. We'll get more to it, but it just gives us all this introduction. It also just shows us this shot for no reason, just focuses on a building with a nuclear blast and a mushroom cloud. Just some of the many shots of nuclear disaster in this film. After she gets past this flying T-pin, she holds it, and she realizes that when she holds it, she can see a different world. Her eyes no longer show her what's before her. Instead, her mind shows her this other world. So after finding this pin, she wants to know more about it. She finds a place online that is looking for these. She travels to Texas from Florida to talk to the shop owners who are looking for these pins. When she's there, the shop owners threaten her and threaten to kill her if she does not give her the information of where this girl is. But at the time, the girl who's been handed this pin is not aware of who this girl is. The shopkeepers are demanding that the main character girl shown here reveal where this girl is. Hopefully you're following me. She says, I have no idea who that girl is. They threaten to kill her, and then out of nowhere, this girl shows up to save her. So this is where she is introduced to this character. What you should know is that this little girl is the same one shown here who Frank meets in 1964. This girl is not a real human being. She is a robot, as it turns out, and she has been banished from Tomorrowland. Her new mission is to help save the world, and she's looking for the right person who can help save the world. She finds the girl who debuts on 3-9. So hopefully that's clear enough.